Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Greyscalegorilla podcast. My name is Nick Campbell, and today we have some special guests. We have Chad Ashley. Say hi.
Hello.
And we have Chris Schmidt. What is up?
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing this lovely Monday morning?
Are we always going to be special guests?
I don't know. Like, what do we do when like, what if I can't be there? Am I the
what
special
happens if
guest?
we have
Are you going to be there?
EJ on? Then if we're a special guest, what is EJ? Like
He's an extra special guest.
Extra special guest?
I don't know. That's a good point.
Well, we're just the host then, right?
I guess we're all co-hosts, right?
Okay,
or
there we go.
Co-special guests.
Can I practice? If I don't practice it like now on air, like I don't think like I'm not going to practice it. So we go, okay, hey everybody, it's Nick, blah, blah, blah. And it's not as always. You can't say as always.
And with
what
me,
if
as
you're not
always,
there?
is Garth.
Well, you can say as
true.
always, and that becomes the exception when you're not there.
Okay.
and
As always,
then
my
it's just like
co-hosts, Chad
co-hosts.
Ashley and Chris Schmidt. What is up?
There you go.
Oh, hey.
I'll fix it in post.
I
guys, don't worry.
need like a. We all need little catchphrases, you know. Like I always think of
nice.
that. What was that show that? Hey now. Was that the Gary Shandling's? I don't know. I'm getting it wrong already. It's early.
Chris, what would your like catchphrase be? Try the connect object.
When in doubt, use a connect object.
That's why you gotta
that's my
shorten
Twitter
it.
catchphrase.
Now, back a few years ago, I'll have to find this. Can you guys put this in the notes? I actually don't have the notes up.
I got
A
them.
few years ago, we all picked out our hip hop 3D noise name.
Oh, which procedural 3D noise were we?
Yeah, I want to say I was Booyah. I think I was Booyah.
Booyah.
Hey, Chris, what was yours? Like Naki? DJ Naki?
Yeah, Naki's pretty good.
Now, Chad,
Even though it's not my favorite.
What is
noise.
that? What are you guys talking about? Are those actual noise names?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm recording the screen right now, but if anybody following along, if you go open up your noise names in Cinema4d,
Okay, I'm doing that right now.
you go ahead. Because Chad, you need to pick one.
Okay, I'm going
Now,
into the noises right now.
Almost all of them could be really good, like hip hop names.
Oh yeah, look at that. You already took Booyah. That would have been my top pick.
So I got to go find what the original. We'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah, I
And
don't
if
want to
anyone's-
take anybody's things, but
We'll get the official one now in the show notes. If you guys want to see them, you can go to the blog. We have all the show notes up at the Greyscalegorilla blog, and if you're watching on YouTube, we also try to put that down below as well, so you can follow along. And if you're listening through iTunes or anything like that, all the show notes should show up wherever you're listening. So check those out. But we picked ours 3-4 years ago.
I don't even know where we would find these.
all right.
Off the
and
top of your head, Chad, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking I'm going to take gaseous because it describes me perfectly. Gaseous C dot. You know, like that'll be
C.
it.
Yeah, I like that.
Anybody that knows me knows that I'm, I flatulence is not an issue. So yeah, gaseous C. That's me.
I like it. And who else? I think Dave had one as well.
Dave might have had one.
We'll have to find that. It might be up on Tumblr. We got to do some searching for that note. Well, we get straight to the important stuff here, folks. What's your and if you're listening, what is your procedural noise hip hop name? I want to see that in the comments.
That's a good one.
You can't, and those are already taken. You know. So what else up? Today is a huge day here at Greyscalegorilla. We've been actually talking about it before we recorded this podcast for at least an hour. We are updating the site and the store, the design of it, the whole back end, everything. As we speak right now, there's the team is in there, flipping switches,
Plugging in
changing
wires.
code.
Yep.
Pulling giant toggles.
Do they do like the big
the toggle.
Tesla coil
Like
kind of thing?
Yeah.
I was picturing like railroad, like, retrack, when they move a switch and the railroad tracks go like that and they move.
That is kind of what's happening. So we're going through a huge transition right now, and I thought we'd try to bring you guys up to speed because it does affect our customers and anybody that goes to the site, actually, because the whole design is changing and the whole store backend. So I thought I'd talk relatively quickly about why we're doing our change and what it means to some of our customers. The biggest change is the store platform. So we've gone through a few different store platforms as we've grown, and I think the overall idea behind all of this stuff is like as we grow as a company, we have to make decisions that make it easier on our customers and easier on us to handle. So when we had a few hundred people, we can make decisions, based on handling a few hundred people. And as we grow to thousands of people that are using our plugins and renewing and updating and all that stuff, we need to go to a more robust platform. So we're actually moving to, for those of you who care about the back end stuff, to a WordPress site called EDD, which is Easy Digital Downloads. And what they're going to allow us to do is basically give our customers a login so that you can log in and get your software at any time. So in the past, that has been really tricky for us because we'd never had an official place for our customers to go log in and see what they own and be able to download it. And as freelancers start popping up more and more, where people are working from different computers all the time, as people are upgrading their, as people are moving to Windows, all this stuff, it gets trickier and trickier for our customers to go figure out where all their software is. So that's really the main big difference for our customers, is it's going to be allow you to go log in. Now, what that means is sometime this week, you're going to get an email about how to go log into your new site. Now, if you're a current customer, we're going to make it as easy as possible. You just go in, and I think there'll be a temporary password, or you'll be able to pick your password as you log in, but you basically just create an account. Once you're logged in, you'll be able to see everything you own, what's, all the current versions and all that stuff. It should be pretty easy, but that'll be the biggest change. Of course, those of you who are just visiting the site, you'll see some changes just physically. The theme is changing, the way you search and find stuff. It's pretty similar. It won't go too crazy, but if you see a totally different site, you'll know why.
We have not been hacked.
We have not, right. We have not been hacked. We are going to simplify. A lot of this is to simplify what we're trying to do. We not only is Greyscalegorilla growing, we now have Chad on the team and 5 other people that are helping build Greyscalegorilla, but it's also our customers are growing. We have, and you know what? Our customers have grown up. This is kind of something I was thinking about last week that was really interesting, or at least interesting to me. Hopefully it's interesting to other people. But when Greyscalegorilla started, Cinema4d in general was in a production pipeline. Using it for like real work was kind of a new thing. It was new to the United States, only a few years, right? When did Paul bring it to US?
Well, I was using it in 2000.
So 2000, right? So it hasn't been along too long, right? But it never really took off commercially until right around when when I was building Greyscalegorilla, right? So that's when people that not only people that used to use, and Chad, you're a perfect example, used to use other software, started moving to Cinema4d, and places like, we started seeing emails from people buying our stuff, like from the NFL and HBO and Sony, right, and the NBA and Fox and all this stuff. Like real customers are using our stuff. So as that happened, we have to make it easier for our customers to really like get to their software as quickly as possible. And so this store will do a lot of that stuff. And it's big. It's a lot of changes. Hopefully it's not so crazy to anybody actually going through it, except for us. Hopefully we're taking the brunt of all the craziness.
We totally will. I mean, that's what I'm most excited about the new site, is just that once we've kind of got all the kinks worked out on our end, it's going to be like the most easiest kind of customer experience that you can imagine. It's like you said, growing up, I think is a good way to put it. Not that I think our other site was juvenile in any way, because it wasn't. It was really robust, but it was all very custom, and so this is going to be a lot better for our customers to be able to easier purchases, easier to find out what you own, easier to download what you own, easier to get an invoice if you need that for tax purposes or whatever. It's a great upgrade for us, and I think our customers. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, the other thing we're trying to solve, and this this might be a little inside baseball as well, but I've always appreciated in podcasts when people kind of share like a little bit why they're doing these kind of things. This will also allow us to bring some of our product ideas to market faster. So in the past, the old store worked really well, but it was always a big process to add a new product or to upgrade or to update things. And what's really nice about this now is it's all built into WordPress, which means any one of us can go in and update. Like Chris, for example, if you find something you want to change or a little update, or maybe there's a little bug when version R18 comes out that we want to update, we can quickly get on that now. And there's not this like cycle of, okay, we got to wait and prep it and put it on the store and do all that.
Contact a web developer, have them update the file. Yeah.
None of that. We go up and we update the file, and we could go email all of our customers and say, hey, new version. If you own R18, we recommend you upgrade. And now it's out within hours instead of within, weeks. And then, or depending on how busy the web developers are and all that stuff, potentially months. So this is a big change for us too, because we have some products we've been working on, things like Link that we've been talking about since the spring, and some other products. Chad's working on some texture packs for Arnold and potentially Octane. So like all that stuff, like we can get stuff out faster as the market changes. So like the way Arnold is, like people are starting to use Arnold. We could say Arnold textures seem like a cool idea, and we could get those out without all the overhead. So it's going to help us. It's going to help our customers, and that's really like moving forward. I think our goal, right? Like we've been saying this on our tutorial pages. We want to make tools and tutorials and training for motion designers. And this will allow us through our new store, our new training site, to put out training, through our new product store on EDD to put out more plugins and packs and HDR bundles and all that stuff. And through YouTube, recently switching to YouTube, getting more tutorials out than ever, right? So it's been a big summer, and this is kind of like the big finale of the change.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
We're literally, we don't know if it's worked yet. So if you're listening to this on Wednesday or Thursday and you're like, wow, I didn't even know anything happened, then thumbs up. And if you're listening to this this or next week and you're like, wow, that was a disaster, then you can come back and listen to this podcast and hopefully feel our positivity.
Just
sadder and sadder.
Be patient with us. We think it's going to go smooth as hell, but you never know, and we're just trying to provide the most frictionless customer experience that we can, and that's what we'll be working hard on.
Yeah, I've always hated the software buying experience in general. Buying like I love my favorite plugins, but the act of buying them, downloading them, installing them, serializing them, like learning about all that stuff. We try to make that as easy as possible, so much so that we don't have serial numbers right now. Like we want it to be as easy as possible for you to download and install and not have to worry like about that stuff. So I think the main thing is if you guys are experiencing any sort of like discomfort with this, let us know. We have customer support ready to go. We want you guys, we want everybody to be able to log in, get to their software, and get back to what matters, which is working and not screwing around with software as fast as possible. So please let us know if anything pops up. And also, I'll ask you this too, and then I'll shut up about this. If you see a link, anything linking to the wrong page, like we have, that Greyscalegorilla site has been up since 2003. So we have over a decade of links, right? And if you see something that is dead or goes back, like we want to fix it, especially with the new site, all this new stuff. Like if something's wrong with the site for you on any platform, let us know. It should work now on iPhones. That was a big reason we changed. Remember that?
Yeah.
Like right now, if you go scroll, I can't say right now because the site might be out now. But if you go scroll on our old site on an iPhone, have you guys done this? It doesn't scroll.
Yeah.
It doesn't continuous scroll. It just stops wherever your finger goes, and it doesn't do that cool thing where it drifts down. I don't know what stops something like that, but it's so infuriating when you're on our site and you're trying to scroll.
Yeah, definitely remember that one.
Just simple stuff like that. As we I like how you said grow up. I like that term. like as we grow up and become more of a real professional place to come buy software. Like that's what we're doing here. We want to make that stuff easier and easier for our customers. So that's all. I wanted to just clarify all that stuff. New site, new store. Let us know if we can help more. And big stuff coming. Big stuff coming. I'm excited. So what else has been going on in Cinema4d news? Any new renders pop up in the last
what did they do? Renderers of the week?
No, nothing new. There was a new update to Arnold today that just came out, and then I think Redshift is also very close.
What's the new Arnold update do?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the release notes yet, but I think it's stability stuff has been fixed. I think a few new features have been added. I will find out. Let me look here. I got it up right on my screen.
I've finally been playing with. You gave me that tutorial a while back, and I've been playing with it a little. But I took it upon myself to continue up the daily render project with strictly using Arnold, just to figure out, just to learn a little bit about it. So that's been really fun. I think there's a few more left in the queue that I got to get out. I can't do the Beeple thing, man. I can't do it every day.
Dude, it's hard.
Are you serious?
It's hard, dude.
He doesn't cheat at all. He doesn't batch any of them. He does it every day. I don't know.
It's insanity.
I don't know I don't think I could do it.
Your Arnold renders are looking good though, bro. I got to say. Give you props on that.
I learned it by watching you, man.
All right, so here are the new 1.3. Oh, sorry. Wait a minute. Is that the right? Yeah. So wait, let me just make sure this is October 24th.
That's it.
Okay, here we go. New features. New light portal object, which is nice for doing for gathering samples if you're doing architectural visualization type stuff. Support for new X particles volumetrics. A lot of people were asking for that, so now that's supported. Supports the vertex color tag in R18. They added a pretty cool little histogram node now where you can actually output your shader into a little histogram to see a histogram. That was kind of a neat little thing they added.
That's cool.
You can now... they added a thing that I asked for, which was nice. This little user ID field to the Arnold tag, which is essentially just an integer in the user ID tag of the Arnold tag itself that allows you to create unique outputs like passes to create like puzzle mats and RGB passes and things like that. Also we'll link the release notes in our notes here. I'll just throw that in there. But yeah, that looks pretty cool. No new renderers, just a lot of still developing stuff. Like Redshift is still hot in development, which will be cool.
Chris, you find anything in the last? I know we've all been so busy with this site and everything. Maybe we're behind on the news, but you seen anything in the last week?
No, not paying any attention to news. Well, we've got the next Cinema4d Meetup announced. If you're in Chicago, for Meetup-wise, we're going to Carbon VFX on the first Wednesday of November. So that should be fun.
Shout out to Tim Little at Carbon VFX. He was the first TD that I ever hired when I was at DK, and he now is a TD at Carbon.
Yeah, Chris, make sure you link that up. Are there still seats left?
Should be. It's going to be a lower seating one, though. We can only fit 55 people.
Ooh, that's going to be packed.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a good problem to have. Like, I remember we used to struggle to get 6 people to show up, and now it's like, oh, no, we can only fit 70. What are we going to do?
Right.
I think the first one I went to, I think, had 10, maybe? Was it Lime Green? Is that the right place?
Yep, Lime Green. I think we might have had 15.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I think that's where I didn't even meet you there, Chris. I just saw you there. I didn't meet you.
You spent the whole time talking to protoculture guys, I recall.
Oh,
yeah. It was like, oh, there's that Nick guy. I should meet him, but then we never got to chat.
Oh, yeah. I was talking with Nick and Jack.
Oh, yeah.
And besides that, I've just been learning how to do our YouTube setup and get things posted that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot more with YouTube recently. we're just, frankly moving to where people hang out. I think Vimeo's been awesome for us and our growth. And back when YouTube and Vimeo were fighting it out, YouTube or Vimeo's video quality, their community, obviously, their community was really why we stayed there for so long.
It was a professional community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think speaking of growing up, I think as YouTube grew up, it's become a little bit more professional as well. It's been obviously their video quality's out, like cranking it. The other thing I do like about YouTube, just on the topic, is they have closed captioning kind of built in.
Mm-hmm.
And as Greyscalegorilla grew, we got a lot of, feedback of like, what about, non-English speaking customers? And also what about like deaf customers and stuff like that? Like there were no options. There were no like inexpensive ways to like solve that problem.
Yeah, there's no way for us to support that.
And it's so hard to do that, and it's so expensive to do. And now, because of Google and YouTube and all the crazy technology that they have, they actually a robot goes and listens to every YouTube video and tries to guess what they're saying. And it does a really good job. Like if you flick on closed captioning, nobody typed that in. Other than the really specific Cinema4d words, that they're like, I'm not gonna
like our rap names, for instance.
Like
the rap names probably wouldn't work.
Like our 3D rap names. But what's really cool, and those of you out there that care about this stuff can actually help. If you are watching closed captioning, or if you just have it on while you watch and you see a word that's not correct, you can actually go in and suggest a new word. So you can also crowdsource what that is. And as you do that, as far as I understand, you're actually teaching the language robot what that word actually means for weird words like 3D words that it's not as familiar with.
That's cool.
So
the most important thing about YouTube to me is that you can watch it at 1.25 or 1.5 or even 2.0 speed, because any educational stuff I'm watching, it's at least at 1.5 speed on everything, because they talk so slowly. It's like, no, go faster, go faster, go faster.
That's the opposite. Everyone else out there is having the opposite problem with your tutorials, Chris.
Chris is like the only one who can just absorb it.
You can turn on one of our tutorials and turn it on like 0.5 speed, and then we sound drunk.
Oh yeah, that's actually,
which is pretty funny. I feel like we should just post one of those default as like, drunk Nick tutorials.
What if we like try to micro machine it? That'd really speed up our workflow.
Yeah, I think the thing.
I think I already do that.
Yeah, you talk pretty fast. I was gonna say when I find a website that uses Vimeo now, I actually get frustrated because I'm usually on my phone, and Vimeo is a pain in the ass on a phone, and it's really hard to share, and it's really hard to kind of flip around in the timeline, and it always seems kind of, I don't know, like half-baked. And
the YouTube app is really good, at least on iOS. Like you can start a YouTube video and then power off the phone, turn off the screen, and it'll keep playing.
Yeah.
So you can just listen to it. And most videos, I'm just listening anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I think I like that part of it, and I also like the fact that you can, send some. I don't know if you maybe can do this on Vimeo too, like send somebody an actual time code to like jump the link right to a specific time code. Can you do that on Vimeo?
Is there a Vimeo app?
Yeah,
but the Vimeo app is horrible. It's just so bad.
I think they do have that. The thing, that was really two of the main things that switched it was that buffering issue. Like if you're trying to scrub around a video, it's a lot tougher.
Definitely takes a while to buffer.
But I think to me the biggest thing is, YouTube has become such a place that I go to personally when I go try to find an answer to something, like anything. Like I was installing a light at my house, and rather than like be bothered to read the instructions, I went on my phone and like Googled how to install this thing, because I'd much rather watch somebody do this for 5 minutes and show me like which wires to like hook together than like go read the instructions. Like
that stuff. Yeah. You do that with everything. Like it goes to, actually in a lot of ways, I was going to say first you go to Google and then you go to YouTube. In a lot of things, I go straight to YouTube. Like I had to fix something on my furnace. It kept turning off. I was like, why is this happening? I just Googled furnace keeps turning off. And then it was like, oh, like there's this piece of metal. It detects how hot it is, and then it gets corroded. So if you rub a Brillo pad on it, then it'll detect it again. And boom, it's been working again for like 2 years.
I paid a lot of money for a guy to come into my house to do that exact thing.
Yep.
'Cause I
You go to YouTube and then you do it yourself in 30 seconds.
Thermometer was.
I don't mess around. That's one
dirty.
thing though, dude. Like I'll do plumbing and like mild electric stuff, but when it comes to like gas, like I'm too afraid to do too much on my own.
I'm lucky enough now.
I
My
wouldn't touch
entire
it.
family works at construction and electrical and plumbing and all
Oh,
that. So
yeah,
I
you're
have
set.
like the person to call to at least ask them what to do.
Yeah.
But that is one of the main reasons about YouTube is like that's everyone's search engine when it comes to answering a very specific question. At least it is for me and a lot of people I know, just like you had stories about it. So we wanted to be there as well. Like our goal is to teach anybody that's interested in this stuff what we know about it. And we got to do that by being where people are asking questions. So already YouTube's been great. It also means we're, I think maybe we mentioned this before, but we're also remastering some of our favorite tutorials over to YouTube every Thursday. We're going to launch those. It's kind of a throwback Thursday thing, but we're also adding like new intros and, basically I like the word remaster. It sounded better than like just copying them over.
Well, it's
because we're not.
Yeah,
We're adding like new intros and like showing the preview. We're not doing the 2 videos anymore. So
we're not really adding much in the way of content there, but we are grabbing our collection of favorite videos from the past that are still good and putting them on YouTube, which I think is the most important thing because that's where people are going to look for them.
Yep. And you get bonus bloopers at the end. From me and Chris, and Chad's even got. Well, your bloopers, Chad, are more dog related.
Dog related bloopers. Although I have a tutorial coming out that I have a legit life hack tip. So you'll have to wait for that one.
Oh, nice.
Ooh,
I've started doing something new at the end of mine as well, but you'll just have to watch to see.
Yep, that's what I'm talking about. Teasing.
Do you think this podcast is just us talking about everything that we're doing? I guess that's what this podcast is about.
Well, I mean, we should probably, people want varied kind of topics, so we could start to talk about other stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you had one of those, didn't you, Chad?
Yeah, I did.
You had an industry hubbub.
I had an industry thing come up that really kind of made me think a little bit, coming from my animation background, traditional animation background. There was a post. A GIF that went out where I think his name is, tell me if I'm getting it wrong. He's known by J.R. Canist, but is it something else is like his name? I'm not going to get it right, but anyway.
I think that's his initials.
Yeah,
I
that's
called
his
him
name.
JR for so long.
Well, he posted like a really awesome little GIF, which kind of broke down some basic animation principles, and it got replied to by Cartoon Brew, who said basically these are not motion design principles, these are animation principles, and you're not doing anything that we haven't already done for years and years and years, which is a little snarky, which kind of started this whole like online thing with Ryan Summers. And so, but I'm not trying to like draw attention to the negativity that, kind of followed with that. I just wanted to talk about that idea of,
it's a cool topic.
Yeah, the animation principles, that started me thinking, well, what is animation and what is motion design? Because they're starting to blur. The more character animation tools you see in After Effects and in 3D, those lines start to blur. So what do you guys think? What do you think the difference is between an animator and a motion designer?
I don't think there is a difference. Like, I mean, especially since these are like those concentric circle kind of things, like unless you have a rule that only applies to motion graphics animation and not to something you'd find in the old Animator's Survival Kit book, where it's just like the basic principles of animation that like any Disney animator from like the 50s would have been teaching you. Unless there's one that's only for motion graphics people, then I would say that these are just animation principles and they can be applied to everything.
So in your opinion, there's the principles of animation kind of are more universal and therefore don't necessarily fit within a subcategory of what we do, or because really you're right, because animation principles could fall under visual effects. They have to follow the same principles of weight distribution that a motion designer does. Well,
this would be like saying that color theory is a MoGraph design principle. And yes, you use it there, but it's also broader than that. You don't have to go to a MoGraph color theory class. You can go to a color theory class and apply it to so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me the idea, the whole tone of it seemed a little pedantic and snarky, and that's not my favorite way to approach something like that. But the best way for me to think about these kind of arguments or talks is to separate it from an industry that I'm really close to and try to extrapolate it to something that I'm not so emotional about. Mm-hmm. And if you think about even just slightly different, like we're talking about website design, like anything you would do on a website as far as design, like 90% of a website is images and words, can be explained, like really comes from magazine layout theory, right? Mm-hmm. So if you think of it in like that term, let's just take that as an example. You could look at how website design evolved over the years, and they used a lot of the same things that magazines had. Like CSS is kind of similar to like how you lay out a magazine, like the same headline. If you change one, it all changes, all those things. But if you use like, hey, that's magazine design theory, you shut off all the things that also the web gives you. So the web also gives you the ability to click and link to any other like online portal, which a magazine doesn't give you. Like maybe, I don't know if this analogy is quite the right way to think about it, but I'm trying to separate it from motion design to find something similar. Because I think emotion always plays such a tight role in that thing. And they're like, hey, those are our words. You can't be using our words. But animation is animation. Like there's a reason, like JR's class, which by the way, I want to go take it. I love his style of animation. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. And there's a reason like our animation fundamentals course where we teach squash and stretch and like design basic animation principles is like successful. Like the difference between an animator that relies on just basic keyframe easy ease and an animator that learns how to animate is the difference, right? So I love that the animation principles are starting to be a bigger part of motion design. I've always taken those things that I did. I learned them in like a drawing class, like with the lunch boxes where you had to take photos of your paper in school. Like I learned those techniques in there, and when I applied it to my motion design, it did make it better. Like if you think of even a logo as something that has weight to it and has it has inertia to it, and it can't just stop on a dime. Like as soon as you start applying those principles to motion design, whatever that is, which could be also, some people call it motion graphics, other people like even in the industry, we can't get it right.
I know. It is weird. Think about that. Like think about motion design. What does that even mean?
Yeah, I mean, even that name, like, so it was always motion graphics to me, but graphics always felt like it was a 90s term that had an X at the end of it or something.
Nobody wants that.
Like that just felt like it was a Neo Geo game or something.
To me, that motion graphics always felt like some guy who's like sitting in a production van outside of a football game, getting ready to move a football player's name across the screen. Like motion graphics.
Well, motion graphics sounds like almost like first of all, a little bit old timey, being 90s. It also sounds like the product you create and not the act of doing. Mm-hmm. So motion design, and just having the word design in there, it's like, oh, somebody's doing something. In the same way that it was always frustrating to me that even huge movies, like, even like when the first Toy Story's coming out, it's like, oh, that was just made in the computer. It's like, no. That wasn't just made in the computer. It was made in a computer. And as much work went into that as goes into anything. Right. Like there is artistry and skill and effort, and they're not using a pencil, they're using a mouse. So having the word motion, or putting the word design with motion design, it's saying, hey, we're doing something here. We are designing something. Mm-hmm. We're doing motion graphics. Oh, the computer did that.
I think you hit right on it, Chris. Like that, when these arguments pop up, it reminds me of every time there's a shift in how something is made and it becomes more digital or online or whatever. Anytime, like this will happen again and again. There's always a group of people that say, well, that you didn't do it the way we did it. Therefore, like, we know the original way and you know, like, all the cheat way. I'm not saying that's what their goal was in saying this. They might just be trying to get to the core idea of what these things are the way we are. But whenever I hear that language, it always reminds me of like, oh, well, you're not a real photographer. You don't use film.
Yeah.
Right?
No, exactly. I was just thinking the exact same thing. Like that, a lot of people were super against digital photography. It's like a no true Scotsman fallacy.
It's just I'm super careful to try and not be like the old guy yelling to get off my lawn at all times. Like, it's just not the way I want to age. So anytime there's something new, I just go do it. Like, I was walking around catching Pokemon, and I'm like up this morning on Snapchat trying to figure that stuff out. Like, I refuse to, at least right now, maybe I'll be the old guy soon, but I refuse to like look at new stuff and go, oh, well, that's just for kids, or like, what is it? What do you mean that's what you do all day? So it doesn't mean I always connect with it. It doesn't mean it's always right for me, or I might have romantic ways of thinking about the past. But anytime I hear that language, there's something, but it actually does bug me.
Yeah, it's a way of shutting down all things. The only thing I'm a purist about is Legos. Everything else, you should just do whatever.
Don't you mean Lego?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm a purist about Egos myself.
I wonder what I'm like a real stick. Like, what is
What's your thing that you're a purist about?
If we go back a few episodes, it was like email and like hating on Google, even though I just constantly use everything Google, and it took me forever to get on Gmail. Like, I have those things.
Well, you're the guy saying like, why doesn't something work this way? Why doesn't it just seamlessly connect from my email to my calendar? It's like, it does. It's called Google.
You're like, no, not Google.
That's because you're an Apple purist. That's your thing. Like that's.
Well, yeah, that might be one. Like, I think we all have those things.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't try to break it away from that. But with language in particular, language is always, I don't know. I guess I wonder like what it means to dig deeper into that idea. It's like, I don't think anybody thinks that we stole the 12 animation principles when there's literally like books all over the place with that say that.
No, and I don't think that's what they meant. I think that they wanted. For me, it's a respect thing, and it's a little bit of the old man get off my lawn mentality, where it's not necessarily that they're claiming that. I don't think anybody's claiming that motion design is stealing principles from the Disney classic animators. I think it's just that, you know, they want them to be aware that they existed and that they've.
Well, it's almost not giving them credit.
Yeah, exactly. It's more of a credit thing than anything else. And you're right. It's just about saying, okay, these are, and I think his tweet actually mentioned, or it does now at least, we'll put a link to it in the show notes on down there. But I think he actually does mention that these are Disney animation principles that he kind of converted into motion design, and really what that means is After Effects. Let's all just get that, you know, it was all made in After Effects. Can those principles be used in any animation system? Yeah, but he chose his tool as After Effects, so that's how he made the GIF, and that's what it exists in. But
if that's the case, then I totally see it. Like, attribution, that is always like, that gets tricky, right? Like, you have to give credit, but I
don't think he was trying to say, "Hey, look, I came up with these." You know, he never said that. But again, yeah, you're right. It's like you want. Can a motion designer call themselves an animator if they've never understood the fundamental principles, or are they just standing on the shoulders of people that came before them and not? You know what I mean? Like it's kind of hard to explain, but
I think of it like this too. It was a tweet, right? So the goal of that type of communication is really to get the word out, right? So he's obviously selling a course, and that's fine, but he's also like trying to get the word out about these animation. He also made an incredibly beautiful GIF, like all in his style. And so for me, I'll just speak personally, like for me, if I'm going to make a tweet or a Facebook post about trying to help a motion designer how to be better at animation, I'm going to use words that they're familiar with, that they relate to. So it could even just be that, where he's like, hey, motion designers, check out these 12 animation principles. Like you reverse that sentence a couple ways, and now you're saying that these are motion design principles. But it could be as like as simple as using the language that people are looking for. Like if you put that out and say these are traditional animation principles, I might fling right by it on Twitter. Does that make sense? Like it could be that silly. And then all of a sudden there's like a thing about it.
Oh yeah, no, and I don't want to give any blame at all for however it was originally done. Like he created this content, like throw it out there. I mean, it's nice to give credit. I don't think any snark is warranted. It's a very curious thing that people do. That it's like the more you agree with each other, the tiny little nuances can just stick the biggest wedge in there. It's like if I only agree half the time with somebody, then that's just the thing. But if we agree 99.9%, that tiny little thing that we disagree about is the biggest thing in the world. Yeah. Like that's ridiculous.
It's the you haven't seen that theory of disagreement. Really, we're this big of friends and you haven't seen that? But you're right. Like if I'm in Chicago, this was my thing when I lived in Chicago. If you're in Chicago and you're a Cubs or a Sox fan, well, now it's a real big deal. But if you're a Cubs or a Sox fan, man, you might as well just punch them right in the face, depending on which one you pick and depending on what neighborhood you are, right? But we're all like hanging out in Chicago here. We all live in the same town. But if I go on a trip or if I'm in like Florida or like out skiing out west or something and I meet somebody from Chicago, we're like best friends. Hey, I eat here and I go there and I do this. I'm like, oh, you're a Cubs fan, I'm a Sox fan. Doesn't matter. We're both from Chicago, right? It's exactly what Chris is saying. Like the more we have, the more differences we could have, the more our similarities come into focus, right? Or the more our differences come into focus. I think, man, sometimes that battle goes I've had those type of arguments, and even I'm having a hard time describing it, but I've had that type of arguments where I'm doing the same thing, where I'm like, no, and they're like, no, and then we stop and we're like, I think we're saying really pretty much the same thing. Like,
yeah,
there's like one word in this sentence that we're arguing over, but really, like, we both think beer is really good.
There's the answer to every argument right there.
The answer is beer is really good.
It is very good, very good.
I don't know. I use this actually came up with me, and I don't know if this maybe you guys could relate. I used to be really like that. Like I used to be into this band and not into this band, and maybe it's just an age thing too. Really into this and not into this, and really like I almost define. I think younger people you can often define yourself by what you're not. More than you are defining on by what you do or what you are. And I was totally that, like, oh yeah, dude, you like Creed? Really? Come on. And now I'm like more interested.
Now you're
than
totally
anything.
into Creed. I mean, that's so weird. Creed. Like you can't get enough.
No, then I would judge you, but now I'd be like, can you explain it to me? Because I really don't. And actually, Chris has seen this. Chris has seen this with me with my Star Wars. I used to hate Star Wars. I used to say, you like Star Wars? That's the stupidest movie I've ever seen. And now I have a different...
And you didn't get punched in the face ever?
All the time. But I changed my ways, not because of the punch in the face, because I didn't mind that. The real thing when I thought to myself why I was asking the question, it wasn't to make fun, really, and it wasn't to say I'm better than you. It was to start an argument. Because I always learn from somebody that gives a shit, gives a thing. I don't know if we should swear, but anybody that is talking passionately, I could sit and almost stare and just listen to them. They could talk about anything, and I'll just go like, oh my gosh, this person cares so much about this. Okay. So I found as a youngish kid in my 20s, that if I started a fight, then that's where the passion came from. And then they're like, you're an idiot for not liking Star Wars, blah, 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 blah. And then I got to get to the core of why they liked it, rather than have like this, whatever discussion. But what I found was you don't like getting beat up, but also you get a better response if you just ask somebody, can you explain to me what it is about that you love about it? And then you can actually like share a beer and have a conversation rather than like get all like, angry at each other. And I've done that more and more with everything I disagree with or everything I'm interested in, because that's really the key. I don't think they're idiots. I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
I think that's a natural. I mean, dude, you're talking about a subject that is like, it's happening everywhere right now with the election and whatnot. You've got two sides that just refuse to kind of see from the other's point of view, and that comes from fear. Really, it's just not knowing. You don't like Star Wars because many different reasons. It just wasn't something you grew up with or whatever. And most people's response is like, oh, you don't like Star Wars? What are you, crazy? What are you, an idiot? What's your problem? But the reality is, it's, if you, like you do, you take your time and you find out their perspective, you're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I can see why you don't like Star Wars. Cool. Let's go have a beer. And if the whole world were more like that, then we'd probably have a lot less problems. But unfortunately, we're not. We're not that cool, and we're not that nice. We just are like, you don't like this? Well, to hell with you.
Yeah, well, maybe everybody's like Nick was in his 20s, where he's just like, I'm just going to start that fight. Get right to the point.
But, I
did, man.
You have like, also, I agree with you, because I was the same way with music and stuff. Like, if you like this type of band, I was like, I don't even want to talk to you. Like, we don't have anything in common. And I think as you get older, you become a little bit more understanding. You start to see things from a different perspective, and that sort of maturity helps a lot. But now, and I could be totally wrong, but I think there's a whole new generation of kids growing up that are my kids' age and my niece and nephew's age that are kind of coming up in this world where there's so much variety, there's so much exposure to different things, that you're not seeing that as much of that, like, I don't understand your point of view, I could never like that music, I can't be your friend. Like that sort of thing is just a little bit less, because there's just so much exposure to everything now.
I agree. I think I have seen that as well.
Yeah.
Where there's just everybody's exposed to everything all the time. So, I mean, that this could just go into like, pre-internet days. There were so many things you were never exposed to at all. And you could just be in your very tiny club. Now, unfortunately, on the internet now, you can also start getting into your own little tiny club, and never hearing anything on the outside. And that's a big problem.
That's dangerous too. I mean, yeah. When I remember when I was a kid, anytime an old movie came on that was black and white or looked like that was shot a long time ago, I didn't want to see it, because I was just like, oh, that's an old movie, I don't want to see that. And my parents would be like, no, it's really good. I don't want to see it. And my kids now, we watch old movies, new movies. They're watching, finding something on Netflix that's from like 1985 or something, and it's just all media to them. It's not like there is no rerun. There is no. It's a totally different mentality of watching and being entertained and consuming content than it was when we were kids, because if it was a rerun when we were kids, we didn't want to see it. Or if we did, it was only because we really loved the show. And now I think it's totally different. Like that concept is gone. And the idea, at least in my house, like they'll watch like an old, Disney movie like Bedknobs and Broomsticks or something that we talked about last week. And they don't even think about it as being old, and they don't ever judge it for being old. They might laugh at some of the effects not being like awesome, but they're always like into it, So it's like kind of cool, actually. I wish I had grown up with that type of exposure.
Yeah, I could see that being really helpful for sure, where you're just exposed to everything. You're like, black and white movie? They just used a different Instagram filter. I got it.
Well, this gets into my like theories on creativity and like all that sort of thing, where really an original thought is just, the mashup of 3 or 4 things that you absorbed throughout your lifetime, mashed up in a creative way. And the 3 of us consumed media growing up in very different ways than they do now. So like, what is that going to look like in 10, 15 years? Like, what is art going to look like? What are films going to be like? Hopefully they'll be better than they are right now, and just remakes of everything. But I do believe that the more you're exposed to, it's like you're enriching that well that you're going to draw from. And the more you consume and the more you appreciate art and film and animation, motion design, whatever you want to call it, you're only going to better your own ability to kind of be creative. And so I'm excited to see like where this industry goes and art goes and film goes in 10, 15 years.
There's you just made me think of something that's a little tangential. I can't remember the name. I think it's something like the Library of Babel or something. I'll find the link. But there's a website. This was like a theoretical thing, and somebody went and made it, where they randomly generated text. And it's like, and you have to kind of visualize it in your head. It's like you randomly fill up a page of text, and then that page of text gets put into a virtual book, and that virtual book gets put onto a virtual shelf on a virtual row on a virtual room of a virtual floor of this building. And what they did is they generated all of this random text, like just straight gibberish. But it goes on the, million monkeys typing on a million typewriters principle, where it's like every time you think you've had an original thought, or every time you think you've had an original idea, or you've written something, it already exists in potential. And so they actualized this, and I'll find the link, but you can type in, I think, up to over 1,000 characters in a row, and it already exists typed out on a particular shelf, on a particular book, on a particular page, already right now on the internet. So you can grab any paragraph out from Harry Potter, or gibberish you type out, or the word moo with 1,000 O's, and it's already there. It's already been typed out. It's already existing, and it just has to be discovered.
It's like that procedural video game that came out recently that started to explore those ideas, where it's like we don't know everything that's in this game right now.
Yeah,
we built the algorithms to build these planets.
Yeah, that's not a very good game though. But
I heard, but this sounds like a pretty crappy library, if you ask me.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to go to that library.
Every useful sentence. That sentence also exists a near infinite number of times with a typo in it in that library. So, but I mean, I think it's a really useful mental exercise to be like, wait a minute, like originality is a relative thing. Like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Like when I discovered that, and I spent so much time just typing in different things and copying paragraphs and finding different things, and there it is on this library on this shelf here. Someone else can go look it up. And you could spend an entire lifetime like flipping through these books. You can just go to a book and flip through it, and you just see page after page of gibberish. And eventually you might find like one little word, or you might find like two words that might mean something. It's so hard to actually discover anything. But it flipped the switch in my head as far as like what is creativity and what is originality and where do things exist. And I don't know, like it really flipped the way my brain works on that stuff.
Well, I think, to bring it back to the original comment, I think as motion design, or whatever we want to call this stuff, and 3D in general, becomes easier to use, and more people are getting into it, and it's becoming used in more and more types of things, we're gonna run into more and more of this stuff. Like if you think of explainer videos have been taken off, where I think everyone knows what those are, but if you ever go to a site about, signing up for a wine of the month club, and you see little characters walking around with their bags of wine or getting it shipped to their house and enjoying wine, and the little characters, those are huge. Like those, from crazy 3D worlds to really simple sketches, like those have become a thing that motion designers and animators can just go like get a job doing this stuff. So though, like, what do you call that? That's like so close to character animation, but oftentimes they're sometimes rudimentary because they are lower budget. Sometimes like there's all these new
there's so much
things
rudimentary. I mean that even in itself isn't really an argument to say that it's not, because I mean look at the crap we used to watch on Saturday mornings that had like 3 in-betweens. Yeah. I mean that was barely character animation either.
Animation these days is like kids cartoons are so beautiful these days. It's amazing.
Well, yeah, that's because it's a hell of a lot easier to make them.
Yeah.
It used to be really, really hard. And, I don't know. I'm like, when motion graphics, that term came out, I hated it. When I didn't like calling myself a 3D artist because I felt it was limiting. I didn't like motion designer, either that much, really, because I felt like it in itself was limiting, that I'm not, that I'm somehow just a designer that happens to do motion, when that's not the case. I didn't go to school for design. I just happened to have have taste and have a pretty decent eye. I went to school for film. So what am I then? Am I a motion filmer? Like what, what is this? And I don't know. I think that, the most accurate term is getting back to the root of the comment, which is, I think we're animators. I think if you're moving something on a daily basis from point A to point B and the computer is drawing the in-betweens and the output is moving, then you're an animator. I think if you are only doing stills and you're only, responsible for creating beautiful imagery, then maybe you're an illustrator or you're a designer. But I don't know, man. Like I see so many different sides of it. I mean, will we still use motion design as a description? Yeah, absolutely. That's what everybody says. But
I think it's a good term.
In my heart, I think we're all filmmakers, we're all designers, we're all animators. It's all kind of like sprinkled into what we do.
Yeah, I think everyone needs to have more in their like tool belt anyway.
Right.
All these specific words are almost going away. It's almost like, all right, you could write whatever you want on your business card, or you could write whatever you want on your website. But like when I go look at your reel, or go look at your Instagram account, or go look at whatever your output is, like what is it? What is it that you do? And that more and more is just going to get broader and broader and broader. People are bringing photography into it, video, like where does VFX and 3D and like all that distinction is just internal noise sometimes, where it's you make stuff.
That's really interesting in two directions, because that goes two different ways on there. Because on one hand, you do need to be able to describe, like if you're putting a job posting, you need to say, I need a motion designer, or I need somebody who does 3D modeling. You need to be able to say that, and you need to be able to define yourself as that. Because if you get like you could say you're a doctor, but that almost doesn't mean anything. You could say I play sports. Well, do you drive NASCAR or play golf? I don't know. So it's like you do need these definitions, but at the same time, if you get it in your head, or if your job description is motion designer, does that mean you now start limiting yourself? Or you're like, you know what? Like I'm a motion designer. I don't do photography, so I'm not even going to try and pick up the camera, because that's like, and even is it just like this quiet voice in the back of your head saying like, no, that's not motion design. I shouldn't do that. Right. So I don't know. It goes both ways. We need the distinction, but at the same time, it's almost like your company needs the distinction, but you should more be your demo reel and not a title.
I hope the tone of this online and our discussion as well, which I know ours is, but I hope any online discussion about these types of things or anything in general always comes with the idea that we're all going to like put each other's jackets on and go home at the end, where I just when there's too much negativity and like you're this and I'm this, and this makes us not friends, I feel like it's doing more of a disservice than anything. So I don't know the whole tone of how it all went down, but I hope just as a general rule for the way we try to talk, and even on this, when we have a disagreement, I know that when I hit record, like we could all high five and like move forward, knowing that we're all trying to just make stuff. Mm-hmm. And so to me, I hope any of those discussions that happen online always evolve into something like that, where the same way that I would argue about a band with my best friend about why I don't like Pink Floyd or whatever, and he does, at the end of it, we could buy each other a beer and go like, well, we both are really into music. Isn't that cool? And I always hope that, maybe this is my stupid positivity thing, whatever, I don't mind. I like being positive. I just
you got that. You got that PMA, Nick.
I love that positivity. I just hope at the end of any of these things that we all realize we're all just trying to make stuff, and we all have different personalities. We all approach it in different ways. Mm-hmm. So the getting down to what it means and what it is, I actually like those talks. It's the same reason I get into these talks, and the reason we maybe have this kind of podcast is to get into these details. What does it mean? But at the end, at least in our industry, let's make sure we have each other's backs, and like not think that there's only a certain amount of animation to go around.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. And I want to know what people think. Hit us in the comments. I want to know how do you define motion design, and what does it mean to you, and how do you define yourself, and what do you do, and does it matter? Hit us in the comments. Let us know.
Yeah, what's on your business card?
Yeah.
Chris, we should wrap up, but on the site we all have little titles on our like about page, right? And I think, and Chad, you've been putting this together, but yours is
creative director,
yeah. Which I love. I love that Greyscalegorilla has a creative director, by the way.
I just didn't know what else to use.
I love it. I've always been interested enough in design to try to make things better, but never naturally or maybe the interest of it to like really be good. But I'm so glad you're here making stuff look better. And then what did you put? What is mine? I forget what you put as mine.
It's like owner/president or something. I don't remember. I'll take that.
It. I remember, I'm bringing it up because I remember Chris's is like the longest,
well,
and it's so great.
I got it from the old site.
Exactly.
I know, but
that's because when we put these together last time, there was like 3 or 4 of us, and I was like, "Really, you're going to make me come up with a title?" I was like, "Fine, I'm going to come up with the most ridiculous one I can because I think this is silly."
No, I don't think it's silly. I think it's totally perfect.
No, I think it's awesome.
I'm the director of 3D product design,
product development. I thought
3D product development. I don't remember.
Yeah, you're the director of 3D product development. Yep.
You could write. I'm just saying, guys. You could write whatever you want as you are on your business card.
Okay.
I'm gonna triple the length of mine. I gotta think about this.
Wait, I don't know if our new website theme will be able to handle all that.
Probably true.
I've always loved that stuff though. It's like a Rocco episode or something where it's a garbage man, but he's a sanitation engineer. Mm-hmm. And it's like that's amazing. Like I love the idea of inflating something into something amazing. Like waitress. No, not waitress.
I've worked at so many places that have done that too, that have just redefined the title and title shuffled, to try to make people think they're, that's a whole other podcast of like, hey, let me give you this title instead of a raise, and you're happy, right?
No, exactly. I just want everybody to know that I'm the director of 3D product development, ironically.
Yeah, assistant to the manager.
Exactly. I do 3D. That's what my real title is.
3D wizard, maybe, is what we should change it to.
3D wizard. Yeah.
I just do a lot of whack-em scratching. I think I'm going to put that on my
whack-em scratcher.
Whack-em scratcher.
Oh my god, that's amazing. I think we should. Maybe that's a better way of doing it. We go minimalist instead of inflating it.
Okay.
Coffee drinker, whack-em scratcher.
Coffee drinking whack-em scratcher.
Yeah,
that's pretty great.
That is pretty good. I might have to. I'm updating the site right now. Click, clickety clack.
All right, seems like that's a good place to wrap up here.
Yep, that sounds good to me. Thanks again, as always, for watching. Please check out the notes. Did you guys write down notes? I didn't have it.
I think we were totally on top of notes.
Mm-hmm. You guys are awesome. Thank you, as always. We're going to try to do these on Mondays. Please stop by, and don't forget to subscribe on iTunes. If you're sick of looking at our face on YouTube, you can go to iTunes and subscribe there. And you could also get show notes. And how did I see? I always have problems with the intros and outros. You got to get every time.
You'll get it.
What is it? Just feel free to like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
We could do like a 3-part harmony goodbye, I think. If I get the low, and then Chad, you get the middle, and Chris, you get the
Do we really want to do that?
Yeah, we really want to do it.
What are we saying?
I don't know. You say whatever you want.
What's the words to the song?
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. There you go.
Okay, ready?
You got the middle.
All right.
And then Chris, you got the highest.
We'll see.
Okay, here we go. Thank you, everybody, for coming by Greyscalegorilla Podcast. We'll see you real soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Wait.
Goodbye.
Wait, let's do it again. I didn't.
No, that's it. Well, next week we can practice again.
I didn't know what note you were going to do. So let's start out. Let's do it again.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. You went higher than I can go.
Yeah, you got to start
need more
lower.
medium.
I could go the higher. I could do the highest one. You go the middle then.
We'll do that.
Stay tuned next week when we do nothing but 3-part harmonies.
and you just want to kill yourself from listening.
Okay. Happy rendering, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.